Let's start at the moment life split in two. September 26th, 2022. That's when Rita was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and vascular dementia, a combo known as mixed dementia. Have you ever felt your world tilt in one sentence? That's how it felt. The neurologist used terms like cognitive impairment and vascular lesions, but to us, it was simply an earthquake in disguise. Rita, ever pragmatic, chalked up her memory loss to aging. I let her, relieved that she could avoid the crushing anxiety because nothing could fix this. See, dementia isn't just forgetfulness. It's the accumulation of tiny, irreparable brain changes, almost like citywide power outages growing night after night. Now, you might be thinking, did you have to alter your daily lives? Not at first. I became the memory bank, gently reminding her where she left things, while she remained cheerful and mostly independent. But I knew, deep down, that the forever I'd promised her was about to get complicated. That's the setup, our first act, and the ominous cloud on our horizon. Let me tell you, denial can be a blessing when facing the unchangeable. For a while, we clung to normalcy, hoping the storm would pass us by. With Rita's diagnosis, we took a hard look at our future needs. Time for a move something smaller, 1 block from Bognor Regis Pier. You might ask, why move now? Because forward thinking with conditions like dementia is survival. We cut costs by £800 a month, eliminating unused care services. That's budgeting with risk management like building a lifeboat before the storm. The saved money? Set aside for private carers if needed. It's a practical cushion, not a luxury. This is what's called anticipatory planning in geriatric care. Our new apartment was cozy. It wasn't about less, but about more peace of mind. The trade-off: less space, but more control over our fate. I won't lie, shrinking your world is hard. You realize how much you're trading away for security. But for us, it was the only way to keep laughing a little longer. And here's the kicker. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say, we need less so we can face more. As Rita's illness progressed, daily routines shifted. Suddenly, I was in charge of every household chore. Meal prep? Not my forte, but technology became my sous chef. Dual microwaves, air fryers, a freezer full of quality meals. People with dementia often lose executive function, the ability to plan and sequence tasks. I became the one to fill that gap. Ever used a combination convection microwave? Think of it as a kitchen Swiss Army knife. It let me serve up steak or ready meals with minimal skill but maximum love. You might wonder, was it lonely? Yes and no. There were tears like the night we sang 50s hits and Rita whispered, "Isn't it wonderful we still love each other?" Those moments, priceless and also heartbreaking. Conflict arose with each lost ability, but the resolution was always the same. Adapt, laugh when you can, and hold hands through the storms. I learned that caregiving isn't just about doing, it's about being present, elevating small rituals into acts of love. Just as we adjusted to dementia, diabetes barged in another chronic condition. Imagine juggling 2 ticking clocks. Diabetes, specifically type 2, affects blood glucose regulation. For Rita, it meant daily insulin injections. Now, imagine explaining to a loved one with cognitive decline why you must gently hurt them, her words, with a needle every day. The pain wasn't just physical, it was emotional for both of us. Isn't 90 a good age? You might ask. Yes, unless you're blessed with youthful energy and a teenager's spirit, like Rita. Age, in our case, was just a number. What mattered was quality of life. Our strategy: keep things simple, maintain routines, and try to infuse every prick with reassurance. I became nurse and cheerleader rolled into one. It was another act in our ongoing drama, adapting again, refusing to let illness define her last years. Life in an over-60s complex can be vibrant or isolating. For us, it started feeling like God's waiting room. We kept to ourselves, largely skipping resident activities. Why? Because grief and illness reshape your social world. Let me share an example. A 1-year-old neighbor sold her London flat for £500,000, yet clung to £1 frozen dinners. That's risk aversion and frugality writ large. We, on the other hand, spent where it mattered on comfort and care. You may be thinking, didn't loneliness set in? Sometimes. But with Rita, I never felt truly alone. We built a bubble where laughter and music still lived. The trade-off was clear: less external connection, more inward focus. For us, love was the community that mattered most. And if you're facing similar choices, remember, it's okay to redefine what community means when life changes course. Even as dementia took its toll, we seized every chance to celebrate. Rita's 90th birthday was a testament to that. She received a gold Gaelic crucifix and her favorite, a photo-topped birthday cake, completely edible. Why bother with big gestures in hard times? Because positive psychology shows that meaningful rituals anchor us when everything else feels unmoored. These moments become memory beacons, especially crucial when cognitive decline sets in. Family and friends came. Tracy pushed Rita along the promenade. Graham visited from Ottawa. Therese and Stephen flew in. The room was filled with the energy of love and support. The conflict? Each milestone was tinged with the knowledge it could be the last. But the resolution? We chose joy over despair, marking time with gratitude. If you're wondering whether small celebrations matter, let me assure you, they're the threads that hold a fraying tapestry together. December 28th, a night etched in terror. Rita suddenly stopped singing, her face glazed, unable to speak. It was a classic presentation of stroke, speech loss, and hemiplegia, or paralysis on one side. Ambulance, blue lights, endless corridors. Anyone who's endured hospital triage knows the agony. Waiting, uncertainty, the doctor will be with you shortly. 9 hours passed before a stroke specialist intervened. Now you might be thinking, why such delays? The NHS, like many health systems, faces capacity, strain, triage, and resource allocation are harsh realities. I spent that night in a hospital chapel, desperate for news. The technical term is hyperacute stroke care. In reality, it was powerlessness and fear. That night marked a turning point. We moved from adapting to surviving as the shadow of loss grew larger. The next days were a blur of medical jargon, left-sided infarct, aphasia, dysphagia. In simple terms, Rita lost her speech, right-side mobility, and perhaps her ability to swallow. Stroke rehabilitation is complex, demanding rapid intervention and specialized therapy. But the reality? We faced systemic delays, minimal weekend staffing, and protocols that often felt coldly bureaucratic. If you've ever watched a loved one lost in the shuffle, you know my frustration. Couldn't you demand more, you ask? I did, insisting on feeding, therapy, second opinions. But the limits of the system and the disease became painfully clear. The setup was hope, the conflict was endless bureaucracy, and the resolution was learning to be an advocate, even as the odds stacked up. If there's a lesson, it's this. Persistence matters, but so does acceptance when medicine runs out of miracles. Dementia is often called the long goodbye for a reason. After the stroke, Rita's decline accelerated. She was present, but the memories that defined her, our adventures, our jokes, our rituals, faded day by day. Neurodegeneration is the technical term. In reality, it's like watching your soulmate drift out to sea, wave by wave. You might wonder, how do you cope when every day is a little more loss? For us, it was through touch, music, and stubborn hope. I spent hours trying to reconnect, encouraging speech, seeking therapists. But sometimes, biology trumps even the fiercest will. The hardest part was watching Rita's will to live fade with her memories. Yet, her fight, surviving pneumonia, rallying through pain, reminded me that love persists even as identity slips away. If you know anyone on this journey, please support research and organizations fighting for a cure. Dementia can strike any of us. Eventually, Rita became an end-of-life patient. The language around palliative care, comfort measures, dignity, quality of life became our new vocabulary. I advocated for her, refusing to let food be withdrawn when there was even the slimmest hope. Now the question, is it right to prolong life or let go? It's an impossible dilemma, one that every family faces in their own way. For us, hope meant holding on just a little longer. The last days were spent in a nursing home, with me by her side, our favorite songs playing Frank Sinatra, Jim Reeves, Gracie Fields, and Oh Canada. We gave her an exit filled with the music of our life together. At 10 p.m. on April 10th, 2025, Rita left this world after whispering my name. That was her last gift connection, even at the end. If you've ever lost someone, you know. The pain is immense. but so is the gratitude for having loved so deeply. After Rita's passing, grief threatened to drown me, but honoring her memory became my anchor. She left behind a letter and a poem, Remember, by Christina Rossetti. Even in death, she was thinking of my healing, not just her legacy. Why do rituals of remembrance matter? Psychologists call it continuing bonds, the idea that our relationships persist after death through memory, ritual, and storytelling. I talk to her still, sharing my days, my struggles, my gratitude. The technical term is adaptive grief, a process of integrating loss into ongoing life. Did I feel angry? Absolutely. Angry that such a kind, vibrant spirit was taken so harshly. But I also felt privileged to have loved for 56 years, a lifetime, and still not enough. If you're grieving, let yourself feel it all. It's the final act of love. After the loss, I had a promise to keep. Rita always dreamed of returning to Canada. Even bureaucracy and logistics documents, ashes, bronze urns couldn't stop me. International repatriation of remains is technical, but for me, it was symbolic. Closure and new beginnings. You might be wondering, why go back? Alone. Because love's promises matter, even when the person is gone. It was the only way I knew how to honor her wishes. Selling our apartment, sorting through possessions, saying goodbye to familiar places, it was both exhausting and cleansing. Each step was a line drawn under one chapter, readying for the next. Finally, landing in Ottawa, I found myself in a new home, surrounded by kindness, but living with a grief that didn't pack neatly into boxes. But I did it. I kept my word, and that's how healing starts. Settling into my retirement home in Ottawa, I faced the challenge of rebuilding a life, solo. The staff and residents were welcoming compassion in practice, not just words. I filled my space with simple comforts, but nothing could truly replace what I'd lost. Will you start over? Some asked. The honest answer, I don't want to. At 85, my heart is full of old memories, not new ambitions. And that's okay. Psychologists call this late life adjustment, finding meaning in continuity, not reinvention. I enjoy good meals, old friends, and the quiet assurance that I'm exactly where Rita would want me to be. If you find yourself beginning again at any age, give yourself permission to mourn the past and honor the present. For me, the new life isn't about starting fresh, but about keeping Rita's memory alive in my routines and in my heart. As I conclude this journey, I've arranged for Rita's and my ashes to be scattered together in the St. Lawrence River in Montreal, where we first entered Canada. That's legacy. A promise kept, a love story, written in more than words. What does it mean to love forever? It means writing, remembering, and carrying the best of someone forward, even after they're gone. In psychology, this is called symbolic immortality, living on through the impact you've had on others. If you've stayed with me through this story, know this: grief is the price of deep love. But I wouldn't trade a moment, even the pain, for a life less full. So here's my last rhetorical question. What will you do to honor the ones you love? My answer, I'll keep telling our story, and I'll keep my promises, because forever was not long enough. Thank you for listening, for caring, and for letting Rita's memory live on in your hearts, too. Goodbye, my love, and goodbye to you. Until next time.